The heart of leadership is serving people. In fact, I say the heart of leadership is always serving others, not ourselves. And I was in my 20s when I heard Zig Ziglar walk across that stage in that good old southern drawl of his and say, if you'll help other people get what they want, you'll get everything in life that you want. You see, that was a life-changing day for me because up to that stage as a young leader, I was getting everybody to help me get what I wanted, get on my train, buy into my vision. That day I said, oops, I've been doing it wrong. Instead of trying to get people interested in me, I'm going to become interested in them. And trying to get people to help me, I'm going to help them. And I found that Zig was right, because Zig was basically introducing that day when he said, if you'll help other people get what they want, you'll get everything you need and want in your life. He was teaching servant leadership. And I'm going to give you some guidelines for serving people that I have myself. Number one, I don't rely on my position or title. In other words, I don't use my position or title to tell people they ought to serve me. That, I'm over you, I'm the founder of this company. You know what? I'm the head here. So I never use that. In fact, every day I work hard to earn the respect of others every day. I don't rely on what I've done in the past. I don't rely on my past successes. I don't rely on my position. I just don't allow that to make me feel that people should serve me instead of me serving them. Number two, I choose to believe in people and their potential. And because I choose to believe in people and their potential, the more that I believe in them, the more I want to serve them. One of the things you're going to find is there's a relationship between how much you serve a person and how much you believe in that person. Number three, I try to see things from the perspective of others. That's why I constantly ask questions, because I found out that knowing how other people think helps me to serve those people in a better way. Number four, I work to create an environment of encouragement. I think encouragement is oxygen for the soul. And I think people thrive good in an encouraging, uplifting environment and culture. And number five, I measure my success by how much I add value to others. In fact, the success of others becomes my success. And so let me just connect that with you that are listening to my teaching today. I evaluate how successful I am today in my teaching and sharing by how much this will help you improve your life. In other words, if you see me a year from now and say, boy, John, that day I sat with you when you were doing developing the leader within you, you taught me some principles that just helped me become a better leader, a better person in my family, a better person in my community, a better person in my company, then I'm going to feel that I was very successful. Your success is my success. Now, that hasn't always been true. I for many years, was a ladder climber. I was successful, and I was producing, and I was doing great things, and it was really working out really well for me. But I made a switch about 15 years ago, and I became, instead of a ladder climber, I became a ladder builder. And what I do now is I build ladders for other people to be successful. And I'm very happy with that, because I don't mean this unkindly, or I certainly don't want to mean it in a wrong-spirited way or an arrogant way. I've been very successful. And what I found is there's something more exciting than my personal success, and that is helping other people be successful. But let me also say to you, you can't help other people be successful unless you've been successful yourself. So fix your act first. In other words, go climb your ladder. You follow me? And by the way, if you've been trying to climb your ladder and you're still on the first rung, you aren't going to be a ladder builder for anyone else, unless you're a first rung ladder builder. I help you with one step and then it's over. So you've got to understand, but they work together if you understand. So let me give you some questions I ask myself to help serve you better, to help serve other people better. The first question is what I call the adding value question. And the adding value question just simply asks, what can I do for people to help them succeed? Now, I ask that question every day. What can I do for people to help them succeed? I'm asking that question to you today as I'm looking at you, is what can I do to help you succeed? You see, Tom Peters said, organizations exist to serve, period. Leaders live to serve, period. That's what we do. That's why when people say they want to be a leader, I always ask them why. And most of the time, people who want to be a leader so they can get a parking place, a good office, and they think of the perks of leadership. And I always look at that and I always say, you're a leader that's destined to fail because you're not in it for the right reason. You're not leading to serve people, you're leading to be served by people. And there's a world of difference between those two. The second question I ask is what I call the everyday question. And the everyday question I ask is, what do people need from me daily that they have not asked for? In other words, what do people just need from me daily? They've not come up and say, John, I need this from you. But they need it from me, and they need it from me on a daily basis. I wrote a book several years ago now that it was never marketed great. It's sold very well, but it's one of the books that I wrote that I thought, if people realized how good this book was, they would be not only having that book for themselves, but they'd have that book for their people. And it's a smaller book. I probably wrote it about 14, 15 years ago, called 25 Ways to Win with People. It's a phenomenal book. In that book, I give you 25 things to do every day to win with people, to succeed with people, to help people. And I have so many things, but one of the chapters is be the first to help. And I teach the principle that if you're the first to help, people will always remember you. You were the first one that stepped up when somebody was down and said, hey, I'm going to help you here. But let me tell you what they don't remember. They don't remember the fourth or the fifth person that helped. There's something beautiful about being the first to help them. And so what does it mean when I say be the first to help? Well, to me, being the first to help means, first of all, that it starts with a desire. I have a desire to help people. There's a relationship between your desire to help people and the relationship of finding ways to help people. Without the desire, you won't find the ways to help them. So it begins with me wanting to help people. So when somebody says, I really want to be the first to serve, I want to make a difference, I want to add value to people, I look up and say, how bad do you want to do that? So it starts with desire. Once you have the desire, the second thing begins to come into place, and that is you begin to anticipate helping others. So that when I'm with you, I am anticipating that I'm going to get an opportunity to serve you and help you. So I'm already having a sense of expectation, which causes me to do number 3, look for ways to help you. Now all of a sudden, when I'm with you, I want to help you. I kind of anticipate there's going to be an opportunity to help you. So I'm now looking, because we look for things that we believe. And if I believe that I have an opportunity to help you, I'm going to be looking for ways to do that. And what that does is that makes me, fourthly, proactive in helping you. Okay, so I'm going to be the first to help you, not because I'm the fastest. I'm going to be the first to help you because I want to. I anticipate that I can. I'm looking for ways, and I'm in that situation where I'm proactive. I'm just looking on how I'm going to do that. Because here's what I've discovered. People see what people seek. And when I seek to serve you, I will see opportunities and ways to serve you. If I don't seek to serve you, I won't see those ways. So, here's what I know about people. This is a killer. I hope you can handle this. Are you ready? This is just put you off the charts in helping people, adding value to people, being the first to help. This stuff just really works. Here's what I know about people. People need to feel important, so I ask for their advice. Do it all the time. I need you to help me. Been thinking about something. I was thinking about you the other day. I thought, boy, if I could talk to you about this, you could probably help me. What advice would you give me? You do understand the highest compliment you ever give a person is asking their advice. So I do it every day. People need to express themselves. So I ask them questions. In other words, people really would like to talk about themselves, but they don't feel comfortable. But I'll ask them questions about themselves so that I'll let them talk about themselves. Constantly ask that. Questions are my vehicle to allow a person to open up about themselves. If I had 20 minutes with you, I could ask you 2 or 3 questions, and in 20 minutes, I could know more about you than people that have known you all their life, just by questions. By the way, I wrote a book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. Buy that book. Don't even think about it. Just go buy it. It will open up a whole new world to you on how to ask questions. Here's what I know about people. People want to feel good about themselves, so I give them compliments. I always look for a sincere, genuine thing that I can say about a person that's a compliment. And if you really want to kill the compliment people in front of their friends. That compounds the compliment. Okay? Here's what I know about people. People want to be recognized, so I give them credit. And so I'm always looking to hand it off and say, let me tell you, I did this because, Joe did this for me, or Joe showed this to me, or, let me tell you what Susan did for me. Here's what I know about people. People want to feel and be worthwhile. So I ask them to help me. I ask them to help me. Now, my friend, I have systems for this every day of my life. So when Margaret and I Tuesday night went out to dinner with a couple, we got there first. There's a beautiful lake, beautiful view. I sat in the chair with my back to the lake. If I'm at a restaurant with you, I will always sit in the chair that doesn't have the view. I'll give it to you. That couple walked in, and they were about 5 minutes later, and I said, oh my gosh, look at this lake. And then they looked at us and said, oh, you're sitting with your back to the lake. Sure, you enjoy the lake. I can give you 50 things that I do every day that always puts the other person first. Now, I got to be careful because I'll come across in a way that I don't want to come across. Trust me, if I talk about my successes, I could do it in a day. If I talk about my failures, it's a week-long seminar. Okay? So I feel very uncomfortable, but I'm trying to teach you, you will own the world if you just understand this kind of teaching I'm giving you right now. It's a living a world where you constantly serve other people. Question number 3 is the improvement question. And the improvement question just says, what can I work on that will help me serve people better? In other words, if I'm serving them, I love that, but how do I get better serving them? And the way that you get better is very simple. You get better in serving people when you know what's important to those people. So that's why you've got to ask the question, how can I serve you? What can I do with you, for you? And very quickly, they'll tell you what the important things are in their life. So, for example, when Charlie Wetzel started alongside of me to help me in writing, basically I get the thesis, the concept, or write the principles out, and then I get my legal pad out and my 4-color pen, and I write out page by page, and then I hand it to him, and he tweaks it. He does a phenomenal job. He's done in past research for me. He's done a lot of things for me. So I sat down with Charlie, and I said, okay, Charlie, first of all, I want you to hear my speaking style. I want you to understand how I teach. So I gave him 100 lessons of me speaking, and I said, go away for 2 weeks. Hear every one of those lessons and come back and tell me, what are my characteristics of a teacher speaker? Why did I ask him that? Because if he doesn't know what my characteristics as a speaker teacher will be, he won't know what my values and characteristics as a writer will be. Then I gave him a quote book, a book just with quotes in it. I said, Charlie, mark the quotes I would use if I was writing. So Charlie marked up the quotes, and I took the same book, and I marked the quotes I would use, and we were 90% off. Then I sat down and said, now, Charlie, you mark that quote. I would never use that quote. Let me tell you why. You mark that quote. I would never use that quote. Let me tell you why. I gave him the second quote book. I said, you mark them. I'll mark them. He did. I did. We were 50% off. I went over every one of them again. I would never use that quote. Here's why. I'd never use that quote. Here's why. Gave him my third quote book. You mark them. I mark them. By the fourth quote book, we were only 10% off. Now, what am I doing? I'm improving him so he can serve me better. You with me? Yes. And you can't serve a person better unless you know a person better. So the better you know the person, the better you can serve the person. There is the blind spot question. And the blind spot question just simply is ask the question, it's what I ask my people all the time, what's it like to be on the other side of me? I know what it's like to be on my side, but what's it like to be on the other side of me? Because I have blind spots in my life, okay? I mean, let's see if you connect here. How many of you have blind spots in your life? Would you raise your hand if you got blind spots? Okay, good, that's good, good. Look like all of you. Let me put it this way. If you didn't raise your hand, you have a huge blind spot. You know what I'm talking about? In fact, you're probably not fixable in your life, okay? Now we all have them. We all have other people who live on the other side of us who see us totally different than how we see ourselves. And so the challenge is to get people around you that know you well, love you well, that will help you with your blind spots. Because you need them. I need them. Because blind spots are blind spots. They're called blind spots for a reason. You're blind. I love the person who says, well, I'm very self-aware. No, you're not. You're stupid. There's no self-awareness about you, and there's no self-awareness about me. If you're self-aware, it's only because somebody's walked into your life and made you self-aware. You don't become self-aware by yourself. You become self-aware by other people. They help you be. Are you with me? And that's why you embrace those people around you, and you allow them to come around side and help you. I love this. In fact, I brought it with me. I was writing a book a few years ago on weaknesses, and so I called Linda, who's with me today. Linda's been with me now for 31 years. She's been my assistant, so she runs my life. She does all my travel. She does all my money. She does everything. I mean, it's the most amazing. She's Wonder Woman, okay? She's just incredible. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do an airline ticket. I don't know how to do anything. I am so wonderfully worthless. And plan on being that way all my life. Do you know how much time this lady saves me? The first person anyone that wants to be successful should get is a good assistant to handle all of the stuff in their life. So I have hours every week that most of you don't have because I got somebody totally taking care of me. She fills in my calendar. She does my finances. She does all my travel. Basically does everything. So I'm calling her on the phone and I'm saying, Linda, I'm writing this book on weaknesses, and what I'd like you to do is over the next week, 10 days, as you think of a weakness of mine, just write it down on a piece of paper. And, next week sometime I'll call you. And by the time you ought to have a list of 5 or 6 things. And if you don't mind, just kind of, share them with me, and I'll put them in a book. And Linda started laughing. She said, I can do that right now if you want me to. and I said, excuse me? What do you mean, right now? Well, she said, you want me to talk about your weaknesses? I don't need to think 5 or 6 or a week or, my gosh, she said, John, I already know those. You do? Yeah. Here, she said, get a piece of paper. Here, I'll give them to you right now. You will? She said, oh my gosh, yes. Get a big piece of paper. Get a legal pad. And so here's what she said. She said, John, she said, you always think things can be done more quickly than they actually can. And John, you don't appreciate the struggles most people deal with. And besides, you assume people instantly understand your vision and will line up to it. And also, you're impatient. She said, I also, you believe everyone is capable of doing what you can do if they would put forth the effort. And she said, then the other one is, you move on from difficulties quickly, expect others to do that at the very same speed. And she gave me this whole long list. I thought, oh my gosh. She knows. Let me tell you something. They all know. They all know. I tell all of you, go back and talk openly and candidly about your weaknesses. It's not because they'll discover them then. They'll just feel better because they know that you know. Because they talk about them every day at the drinking fountain. Are you with me? Are you with me? And then question number 5 is the giftedness question. What do I do best that allows me to serve others best? In other words, okay, if I'm going to be a servant of others, how do I do that? And I'm going to just help you real quickly on this. What you want to do is you want to think about what you do best that allows you to serve others best, and then you go with it. So, for example, what are my strengths? Because whatever my strengths are, I can use them to serve others. What are my experiences? Because whatever those experiences are, I can use them to serve others. What are my opportunities? Because whatever those opportunities are, I can use them to serve others. What do I love? I can use what I love to serve others. Where am I growing? I can use that to serve others. Wow. And I think the last question I want to give you in this servant leadership area, because you're all leaders, very good leaders, is the example question. How can I serve people in a way that will inspire them to serve other people? That's a great question. In other words, how can I serve you in a way that will be inspirational in you wanting to serve other people that are around you? I was recently speaking at the Breakers. It's a phenomenal hotel in Palm Beach, one of the great hotels in America. And David Burke manages that hotel. He's a longtime friend. And we were talking about serving, and he said, John, when we hire somebody, we have 2 days of training for them immediately when they're hired. And he said, the first thing we do, the first half of the first day, is we take one of our leaders in our hotel chain there, or in our hotel there, and they go out and spend a half a day serving the community. And he said, there are 7 different projects that we serve our community in. And he said, we just go spend a half a day. And he said, one of our leaders goes with them, and they together serve in the community. And at the end of that first half day, we basically say, we not only serve our customers at the Breaker Hotel, we serve people, period. We're servants. And he said, the leaders always take them and serve with them. And so I went and I talked to they hire 2,500 people in that hotel, but I talked to their top 200 leaders. And it was amazing, the attitude of servanthood within that organization. But what was it? It was the fact that they were an example. You with me? They were modeling for their people good servanthood. And so I'll close this session with a prayer. Now you have to understand, this was a prayer that I had when I turned 60, okay? So that was a long time ago, all right? But I so believe in what I just have taught you that here's a prayer that I wrote. Lord, as I grow older, I would like to be known as available rather than a hard worker. Compassionate more than competent. Content, not driven. Generous instead of rich. Gentle over being powerful. A listener more than a great communicator. Loving versus quick or bright. Reliable, not famous. Sacrificial instead of successful. Self-controlled rather than being exciting. Thoughtful more than gifted. And then I close by saying, I want to be a foot washer. The greatest way to lead people is by serving people. Section 8 is about the indispensable quality of a leader. Of course, that is vision. And vision is a picture of the future that produces passion today. So when you cast a vision, what you do is you show people what it could be tomorrow. But it's so good and it's so contagious that it creates passion in them today. You see, what I've discovered about leaders is this. They have two things in common. All leaders have two things in common. And what they have in common is this. They see more than others see, and they see before others see. That's a fact about leaders. They see more, and they see before. So to illustrate that, if you're in the room with 10 other people, and they're talking about something, and everybody sees more than you see, and they see before you see, you are not the leader of the pack. Are you with me? Because leaders, that's what sets them apart. And regardless of culture, regardless of age, you show me a leader, they see more, they see the bigger picture, and they see before others see. Now, the question is, in vision, how do we see more and more? In other words, if we see more than others see, how can we expand the more to the more is bigger? And how can we expand before? How can we make before even earlier than before? How can we see more and more, and how can we see more before? And I'm going to give you this answer because this will help you really begin to be a person that learns how to live and cast good vision for your people. But before I teach this to you, look at your neighbor and say, John's going to teach you how to see more, and more before. Okay? Tell them that, all right? Isn't that fun? Okay? So, how do I increase my more, and how do I increase my more before? Number one, know that there's more and more before out there. The first step of increasing it is to think abundance and know that no matter what you see, you can see more, and no matter what you see, you can see before. So you've not maxed your more, and you've not maxed your before. There's more out there for you. And that is all about thinking with abundance. So there are two words that help us really understand that. The first word is creativity, and the second word is flexibility. Creativity says there's always an answer. There's always an answer. Now, the moment that I understand that there's always an answer, guess what? I'll look for an answer. Flexibility says there's more than one answer. So there's not only an answer, but there's more than one answer. The fact that you believe there's always an answer will help you see and get and increase more before. Because if you believe there's an answer, you'll look at it and you'll look for it and you'll find it before others. Are you with me? So believing there's always an answer gets you to increase the before part of it. Believing that there's more than one answer increases the more picture. You see a bigger picture because you never see a picture and close it off with one answer. You say, well, that's a beautiful picture, but it could be expanded because there's another answer. I'm sure there is. So creativity, there's always an answer. Flexibility, there's more than one answer, is what you need to allow yourself to increase your vision. I'm 70. And one of the things I could share with you that is a fact is that at 70, I have less certainties in my life than I had at 20. When I was 20, I was awesome. I was certain about a lot of things. You just asked me, had an answer. I was really good. Now, as I've gotten older, I don't have near as many certainties as I had. Now, what's incredible, though, I have a lot less certainties at 70 than I had at 20, but the certainties I have, I am more certain about today than I ever have been before. So I have less certainties, but the certainties I have are stronger because they've been tested with time and with experience. And one of the things that I'm totally certain about is abundance. That there's more out there for you than what you think. And that if you live in an abundance world, you're going to find answers that you'll never find in a scarcity world. So two people live in the same world, and one's finding answers, and one's increasing and growing and seeing more and more and more before, and the other person's not. And it's not because it's not there, it's because of the way that they think and the way that they see. Let me illustrate. Several years ago now, I was getting ready to go to New York to shop some more books to the 5 largest publishers in the world. So I sat down the night before in the hotel with my agents, and we talked about the books and the shopping and what we were expecting from them and laid out kind of a strategy. It was a wonderful evening. And when we finished that conversation, they all went to the rooms, and I slipped over to the side area of the lobby where it was kind of private and I could just be by myself. And I sat down and I asked myself, if I were the publishers tomorrow that are going to talk to me, what would be the question I would have for John Maxwell? Now, let me just stop here for a moment and say, I do this all the time. Mature leaders think of the other person's perspective and point of view, and they lead according to that. And I came to the conclusion that evening that if I were a publisher, the question I'd want to ask John Maxwell, because at that time I'd written 50 books, the question I'd want to ask is, do you have any more in you? I mean, or are you just like out of gas when you're coming to us for a new contract? How many more books do you have in you? So I sat down that night and I began to say, what do I want to birth as far as books? And I started writing down thoughts and titles. And I just kept writing. And probably in 35, 40 minutes, I had written down 14 more books I wanted to write. Next day, we're at Random House. First time meeting with him. CEO looked at me and says, John, we got your numbers. We're very interested in you, but we just got to. He said, last night, I couldn't help. I kept asking myself a question. I got to ask you this question. Do you have any more books in you? He said, you've written so many books. I mean, we don't want to give you a pretty nice contract on if you're kind of running out of gas. I said, that's a great question. I said, do you mind if I talk about books I'd like to write? He said, no, go ahead. I stood up. And I walked around the room and I said, well, I've got to write this book yet. And I gave him the title and what I thought it would be about. And I talked about that for a moment. I said, oh, but to be honest with you, this is a book I need to really write right now. And I talked about that for a little while and about what it would do for people and why I wanted to write it, what I thought would be so good about that book. And then I went to the third book. And I went to the fourth book. 35 minutes later, I'm on book 8. And he stops me. He said, I got it. He says, is it okay if we call your publisher today and buy out your contract so that we can sign you immediately. I saw more and more. And I saw more before. Let me tell you something. When it comes to vision casting, when it comes to laying it out for your people, that's what is contagious. When they see that you see something they don't see, and you see it before they see it, and you're increasing that, it begins to be pretty amazing what you can accomplish with that. When I was in southern Indiana, my first country church, Hillham, when I needed to borrow money for our first church building, I went to the local banker in French Lick, Indiana, who all he did basically was loan to farmers. And he sat me down. I was a 23-year-old kid. And he said, I want to teach you something about borrowing money. He said, when farmers come in and ask for a loan, I ask them a simple question. Are you fencing in or are you fencing out? If they're fencing in, it means that they've bought all the acreage they're ever going to buy, and now they're just trying to hold on to what they have. He said if they're fencing out, they bought more acres, they're going to get some more cattle, and they're going to sow some more crops, and they're expanding. He said if they're fencing out, I loan them the money. If they're fencing in, I don't. And then he looked at me and said, young man, fence out your entire life. And that's what I've been doing. I've been fencing out, seeing more and more, and seeing more before than I ever have before. If you want to increase your vision and expand it, number 2, develop a process for finding more and more and more before. There's a process that will help you to expand that picture and to see it bigger and to see it quicker than you ever have before. And the process, I love this teaching. It's brand new for me. In fact, I'm just exploring this teaching, okay? So you got to understand, you're hearing it first, and it's good, but it's going to be great someday, okay? And when you hear it, when it's really great and you read about it, you say, oh my gosh, I heard it when it was just good, okay? But I call this advance attraction. And advance attraction is this. When you know what you want in the future, okay? It's called advanced attraction. When you know what you want in the future, you will attract what you need to help you get what you want. When you know what you want in the future, you will attract what you need to help you get what you want. So if I say to you, and we know this illustration well, if I just say to you, the rest of the day, I want you to see the color blue. Guess what you'll see all day? Blue. You'll see more blue than you've ever thought. You'll say, my gosh, I didn't realize so many people wore blue today. And the carpet and the walls and blue, blue, blue. Now, why? It's because I've now conditioned you, advanced attraction, to look for things that are blue. Well, if you know what you want when it comes to your vision, when you know what you want, see, that's when you'll start to attract to you the things that will help you get what you want. It's not that they haven't been there, it's just you haven't seen them until now. So here's the way this works. Once you know what you want in the future, your mind will help you think of things that'll help you get what you want. And your eyes will help you see things that'll help you get what you want. And your heart will begin to feel things that will help you get what you want. And your attitude will help you to believe things that will help you get what you want. And your mouth will start to say things that will help you get what you want. And your life will begin to attract things that will help you get what you want. Why? Because you know what you want. Once you know what you want, once you got your vision, once you know where you're going, once you know what that picture looks like, you're going to find all kind of people to put in the picture. You're going to find all kind of resources to put in that picture. But it'll never happen to you until you know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you don't attract anything to you. That's the process. It's called advanced attraction. And the process is, once I know where I want to go, I'm going to find all kind of people to help me get there. And I'm going to get all kind of resources. And it's kind of like this. When you start moving towards your vision, as you move, you attract the resources to you. Are you with me? So what happens? We're moving toward our vision, and we're getting low on resources. And so here's what people do. They stop. They say, oh, my gosh, okay, wow. I'm going to have to wait for the resources to come before I start going again. And they don't understand. The stopping stopped the resources. Happens all the time. But the moment they start moving, the resources move too. Resources move as you move. And resources come to you as you need them. But they don't come to you if you aren't moving. Inaction creates no faith, and inaction creates no response. That's why all of my life, I don't mean this unkindly, I basically know what I want, and I start going. And I get people to come into my life that I don't deserve. I get people to come into my life that I don't go after. A lot of people that come in my life, I can't take any credit for going after them. To be honest with you, I'm a person of faith, so I'm not trying to out-faith you here, but God helps me. But he knows that I'm going. See, he honors obedience. And obedience is only understood on the back end. It's not understood on the front end. So the person who says, I'm not going to move on my vision until I can see it all clearly, or I'm not going to, and they stop, what they don't realize is they stopped all the resources of the vision. And they're never going to be available to them until they act it out again. So there's a process. I just gave it to you. And the moment you activate that advanced attraction, all of a sudden, you see things start to come towards you that you never would have thought possible. Number 3, how do you get more and more and more before? Invest time with people who inspire you to see more and more and more before. In other words, you've got to get around people who have a bigger vision than you, who see a clearer vision than you. You never want to be at the head of the class. If you're at the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. You always want to get around people bigger than you, smarter than you, faster than you, more experienced than you, more successful. I purposely put myself in environments like that on a continual basis. Continually. I mean, I took a trip to Italy a couple of years ago with basically a chartered plane full of billionaires. I mean, I was like the poor one there. It was so good to be poor and ask questions and hear and see their vision. And I mean, it's like, dear God, I am nothing, nothing, nothing. Jim Collins calls it who luck. Jim says the most important luck you ever have in your life is who luck, who you meet. And what I've discovered about who luck is that 90% of it is intentional. 10% of it is accidental. And what you've got to do is you've got to go after the people. That's why you've got to always ask the question, who do you know that I should know? Ask that question. Well, who do you know that I should know? Who do you know that I should know? Man, that question's got me to all kind of people that have brought me all kind of who luck. But it's intentional. When you talk about who luck, I don't like the phrase in one way because it's kind of like, well, I hope I'm lucky enough to meet somebody that will come and change my life. No. I'm talking about being intentional to who luck. You go after those people because you need to get into their lives. You need to hear from, you need to sit at their feet. I asked a principal of a school in Orlando, Florida one day, who do you know that I should know? He said, well, you ought to know John Wooden. I said, yeah, I think I should. I said, can you help me? He said, yeah. He said, I'm a very close friend of his, and I'm going to go out next month and spend a day with him. Would you like to go with me? I said, yes. So I went out to Meet John Wooden. Now let me explain something to you about Huluk. This is very important. You've got to ask yourself, when you go meet these people, are you going to be a fan or are you going to become a friend? Now let me tell you what a fan does. A fan wants pictures and autographs. Nothing wrong with pictures and autographs. But if you're not any deeper than pictures and autographs, guess what? You get a picture and you get an autograph. And you put a book on your shelf and you put an autograph on your wall, and it's over. The key to Huluk is when you're going to meet that person that's going to be the person you should meet, you want to be ready to be unforgettable to that person. So when I was going out to meet John Wooden, I took a month. I read every book he's ever written. I marked those books up. I began writing questions out of the things that he taught. And by the time I'm having breakfast at his favorite breakfast place in Los Angeles and sitting in the booth with him, and we're doing the small talk for a few minutes, and we were only supposed to meet for 2 hours, he finally looked and said, well, John, he said, do you have any questions? I said, well, yeah, I do. I said, do you mind if I would ask a few? He said, not at all. I reached in my briefcase, and I pulled out my legal pad, and the top of the legal pad was full of questions. He looked and said, oh, my goodness. You have a lot of questions. Oh, I said, that's just the first page. Well, he said, how many pages do you have? Well, I said, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 pages. Well, he said, we better get started. We got started. I left that day at 4 o'clock. And when I left, he said, John, he said, we only got through page 1. He said, would you like to come back and do page 2 with me? Yeah, I would. I've changed Huluk into good luck because I was prepared. Can I tell you something? He had signed a basketball for me. He had taken a picture with me. And I could have walked away with a basketball and a picture. Or I could walk away with my next appointment with him. I'm here to tell you, folks, when you're going to meet somebody that you want to meet, you get ready. When opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. Prepare on the front end and intentionally go after them. Wow. Let me just give you one more thought. Intentionally grow every day so you will have capacity for more, and more before. What you want to do is increase capacity. Because if you don't increase the capacity, the question of more, and more before isn't going to happen to you. Because if you don't have the capacity to take it, more, and more before isn't going to help you. You can't contain it. How do you increase capacity? By personally growing every day. That's how you increase capacity. Wow. I'm 70, and my capacity for growth and for vision is greater than it's ever been. It's not diminishing, it's expanding. I'm saying, my gosh, to finalize my vision, I got to live to about 125. Now, you see, if you're not growing every day, your capacity is not growing. So if you had an opportunity to have more, and more before, you couldn't handle it anyway. Remember, when a person says, well, shoot, I lost that opportunity. Opportunity is never lost. Somebody always finds it. It's you that lost it. Somebody else will pick it up. Got to understand this. And this really works. So you see, the only guarantee for me that tomorrow is going to get better is that I'm growing today. That's the only guarantee. I run these people and say, well, boy, I sure hope that, I hope tomorrow is I'm hoping that, I hope that tomorrow gets better. My name's John. I'm your friend. Hope is not a strategy. It ain't going to get you there. The only valid reason I know that tomorrow I'm going to get better is that I'm getting better today. And if I'm not getting better today, what makes me think tomorrow's going to get better at all? So I close this session with it's just an incredible teaching. And when I was in my 20s, Earl Nightingale, I heard him say that if you spend 1 hour a day, every day on a certain given subject, in 5 years, you'll become an expert on that subject. And that's right when I was really buying into leadership, and everything rises and falls on leadership. And I just really bought into that. So when he said that, I said, okay, I'm going to spend an hour every day on leadership. Every day. I'll spend an hour for 5 years. I'll become an expert on leadership. So that's exactly what I did. Every day, an hour on leadership. And the first year I kept saying, how long will it take? How long will it take? Well, Earl Nightingale said 5 years. 5 years. Oh, 4 years. Wow. 3 years. How long will it take? How long will it take? How long will it take? And about right in the middle of that 5 years, I grew up and matured. And I quit asking the how long will it take question. How long will it take reminds me of 2 children in the backseat of a car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? It's okay. They're children. When you're an adult, are we there yet? How long will it take? You see, I quit asking how long it will it take, and I started asking, how far can I go? How far can I go? Everything changes. You see, that's the question I'm asking at 70. How far can I go? I don't know. I have a feeling there is no finish line. But here's what I know. I'm excited about how far can I go? Because I've not yet reached my potential. I'm not there yet. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I still have capacity to get more and more before. If you'll do the things I suggested, your vision will become bigger and you'll see it quicker. And that's what I want for you. Because the quicker you see it and the bigger it gets, the better it is for the people that follow your leadership. Does that make sense? Makes sense. Thank you.